Hello everybody, I'm Daniel Short, Product Marketing Manager for Champion Industries, and we wanted to start by saying thank you for taking part in today's training. We're going to go through a couple brand new things from Champion and maybe some stuff that some of the pros out there have already known about. But again, we wanted to show off some of our different product segments as well as a brand new service from Champion Industries. We'll get to that in just a minute, but for right now, we're going to roll right into Champion Undercounter dish machines. Stay tuned. So just behind me here, I have one of the Champion UH130B high temperature undercounter dish machines. Back here, just behind me, I have one of the low temp versions, which is the UL130B. We'll get to that in a little bit. But for now, let's focus on the UH130B. Let's hit some of the high points really quickly. 25 racks per hour on this machine. It's got a built-in high temp booster on it. And this is what we call a drain and fill machine. So let's get into that. A drain and fill machine differs from a freshwater rinse machine. So freshwater rinse is where we reuse that wash water and top that off every cycle with some of the rinse water, just the same way a door machine, rack machine, or flight type operates. A drain and fill, as you may know, is a dump and fill. Everybody's got a different name for it, but a drain and fill machine is going to drain all of that dirty wash water out of the cavity of the machine or out of the wash tank of the machine every cycle. Rinse, retain the rinse water, inject some detergent, fill up a little bit, and then use that water for the next cycle. You use a tiny bit more water, but great for applications where you know that the staff or the people operating the machine, A, you're not going to switch it off and drain all the water out every couple hours like you're supposed to, especially on a freshwater rinse machine. But B, more importantly, when you have a staff that maybe treats the machine like a residential dishwasher, or he just treats it like a glorified disposer, dumping all kinds of half-drinking drinks and who knows what in there, not doing a great job scrapping, a drain and fill machine is going to evacuate all that water after every cycle, so it more or less keeps itself clean. It's very important just for those reasons I just told you, machine keeping itself clean like that. Again, if you've got an excellent staff that's used to working with maybe some other types of machines that are freshwater rinse machines, great, but this machine right here is going to keep itself extra clean and not have to worry about dumping the tanks out or anything like that. Now, let's move on to the operation of the machine. We'll get into what you're going to need to know if you ever go to demo one of these machines. Okay, so now that we have covered the basics of the machine, let's go ahead and run through our own little demo right here. So let's talk about some of the operations, startup, cleaning, shutdown on the machine, all that. Let's do it right now. So let's go ahead and open up the machine. The first thing we're going to want to do is check our scrap screen. So checking the scrap screen, we're going to look inside, see if there's any obstructions inside of our pump intake screen. Let's get that back in there. We're also going to check our lower and upper wash arms. Got those in place. Now, I'm going to insert a rack into the machine and let's go ahead and get this thing fired up. So once we fire it up, it's going to begin to fill and we're going to give it about 15 minutes to go ahead and warm on up and come up to temperature, and we'll come right back. So here we go. All right, so now that we've given the machine a couple minutes to warm up, I've got my wash temperature where I want it to be, and my rinse temperature will come up as soon as the machine goes into final rinse and the booster has a chance to do its job. Let's check a couple things, and the first thing it's going to want to check on before we run this first cycle is to check our detergent and rinse aid. Now, since we're down here in the test lab, I'm not really going to go ahead and set those up, but I want to make sure, or you're going to want to make sure, that the pickup tubes that run out of the back of the machine, or the detergent one is running into a fresh bottle of detergent and the rinse aid one is running into a fresh bottle of rinse aid. If you are loading those after they've run out or for the first time, let's look at how to prime the machine. So right here, you can see we have a little rocker switch, and that rocker switch is going to be able to override the peristaltic pumps, one for the detergent, one for the rinse aid, and allow you to manually bring each one of those up through the pickup tube up until you have a port in the back of the machine. You'll see back here. So if I wanted to prime the detergent, I'll put that pickup tube in the bottle, run that right there. I'll see that snaking its way through the tube and then finally drip out of the back right here. Same for the rinse aid as well. So once you've primed those and you've inserted a rack, which we just did a moment ago, First thing we're going to want to do after that is hit the big green start button. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let's run a cycle, and then when it's finished up, we'll open it up and talk a little bit about cleaning. So now that we've run a quick cycle on the UH130B, I want to take a moment to talk about cleaning. So the rule, as with the freshwater rinse machines, where you need to turn the machine off every 2 hours to let it drain out completely and then turn it back on and let it fill up, is not going to apply to this machine right here. In its place, we will put down this one rule of saying to keep an eye on the soil load inside the machine. Now, because it's going to drain all that wash water out after every cycle, it's going to be a very clean machine. But that doesn't apply to the scrap screen inside the machine as well as the cavity itself. So when you see soil load build up around the cavity or in that scrap screen inside the machine, that's a good time to go ahead and turn the machine off. Let all that water drain out because it's an automatic pump drain on it. Pull the scrap screen out, go and clean it, put it back inside the machine, wipe down anything inside the machine if there is excessive soil load inside the machine's cavity itself, and then you can turn it back on. Or if it's at the end of the day, we turn that machine off, clean all those things out, put it back together, and if possible, leave the door open so the machine has a good opportunity to dry itself out and be ready for the next day of operation. So I'll show you that right now. So again, it's as easy as just switching the machine off. And then in a second here, we'll hear that drain pump cut on. I think here it is in just a second. There we go. So that drain pump will cut on and evacuate everything out of the machine, that we can carry on from cleaning from there. Now, those of you all who have done trainings with me before know that I love talking about the construction on Champion machines, and the Undercounter series is absolutely no different. On these machines, you'll find more stainless, where in other competitors' models, you will find plastic. First up, let's talk about that scrap screen in there we just talked about in the cleaning process. Scrap screens on a lot of your cheaper Undercounter dish machines out there are always going to be plastic. With Champion, we know what's going to happen to that scrap screen. Now, we talked about it a little while ago. You're going to take it over to the trash can and bang on it a few times. It's going to get introduced to heat and water and chemicals and all that for years and years and years, and plastic is going to break over time. It just will. So those items like that are just going to get abused, we know they are. Why not have it a full, nice piece of stainless right there? Same goes for your washer or rinse arms. Those right there are going to come in contact with pressurized water, detergent, maybe even a little bit of banging around when they get cleaned on from time to time. Why not have those in stainless? Very easy to keep clean. Competitors' models out there, you will see stuff in plastic. You just will. Inside the body right here, no real plastic components. We've got a nice piece of stainless steel, one-piece design on the inside. Got your double wall construction for your stainless on the outside. Helps keep the machine quiet as it runs too. So not cutting any corners. We want these machines to last. Let's move below. Closing up the door here, and you will see, first off, I did turn off the disconnect, so nobody call me out on being unsafe because I killed the disconnect. Let's move down to the lower part of the machine here, and I'll even get down here with you. Now, I've opened this all up. So this right here is basically all the goings on underneath this machine. And the reason why I've pulled everything from the fuse box all the way over to our peristaltic pumps and pulled all this out is so you can see just how easy it is to work on. For an Undercounter dish machine, yes, we do pack a lot in a small place, but there is a lot of room to get your hands in there, move tools, and negotiate your way if there is ever any need for any kind of service on the machine. Because just like anything else, like your car or truck, whatever you're driving, at some point it's going to need some service. And the harder these things are to access, the pump, the booster heater, anything inside the machine, the peristaltic pumps, the harder anything is to access, the harder it is to get some tools around in there, the longer a service technician is going to be on the job resolving the issue. So the easier it is to maneuver in there and the more room you have to work on, the easier that technician's time is going to be. So it's really going to cut down on any kind of time when it comes to those service calls and make their job just a whole heck of a lot easier. So again, nothing overlooked when it comes to the design on these machines. Champion's really looking out for our customers and building a great machine. So behind me here I have the Champion UH330B. In this video, we're also going to talk about the Champion UH330 ADA. Almost no difference whatsoever from this model you can see as far as some of the features and benefits and all the operation we're going to talk about. Main difference is the height. Two main things to remember. The UH330B is going to sit right at 33 3/4 inches tall, where the ADA model is going to sit at 29 7/8 inches tall. Shrunk the machine down a little bit. Didn't lose too much in the cavity, still have a 12-inch opening in the door and inside the wash cavity. The 330B and the 330A operationally and functionally the same machine. Let's move on. So the Champion UH330B and the ADA version of this model are loaded with some great benefits. One of which is the expanded control panel that'll give a little more usage as far as extended wash cycles as well as an onboard diagnostics for the control board. And then most importantly is the addition of the heat recovery technology. The heat recovery technology allows this high temperature dish machine to run off of only a cold water input, so no hot water is required to run to this machine. So how do we do that? And that's the heat recovery technology. And how does that work? So the heat recovery technology works by simply introducing cold water to a hot water coil, and then at the end of each one of the cycles in this machine, it'll take a couple extra seconds and a fan will kick on and bring all that hot heat and steam out of that wash cavity in over a cold water coil, which then heats up that incoming cold water, and then from there, that incoming 50, 60 degree water, we've now boosted that up to over 110 degrees. From there, we send that down to the booster heater in the machine, and that takes it up to that final 180 degrees plus for our final rinse on the machine. Next up, let's talk about the construction of the 330B and the 330 ADA. As you can see in the machine behind me, we have a very well laid out control panel. It's very intuitive for the operator and very easy to use. Everything's in plain, clear English. Moving on past that, all stainless steel design, let's open up the wash cavity. So inside the wash cavity, you'll find two main things that I want to cover today. First up, let's talk about the independent wash and rinse arms. So on the top and on the bottom, you'll have independent wash and rinse arms, and let's mainly talk about the rinse arm. On these, you'll have again, nothing but stainless steel. The rinse arm, what you'll want to take a look at is, again, all stainless design with rinse nozzles. Instead of, as you'll find on many other manufacturers out there, what they'll have is just a stainless steel tube with some tiny little pinholes drilled in it. This leads to a very inconsistent spray pattern as well as a design that's very easily plugged up by either scale or even small food particles. Something that leads to extra cleaning as well as not a very concise spray pattern. So on the Champion machines you'll find the spray nozzles. So the spray nozzles are again very easy to clean, not as easily subject to getting stopped up, as well as giving us a very consistent spray pattern, which is what you want on your final rinse because that's what's doing the sanitizing on your wares. Moving on from there, the other thing you'll see inside the wash cavity here is a big stainless steel scrap screen that is covering those heating elements. Two main things on this, and let's talk about the scrap screen itself. A lot of other manufacturers out there, you'll get a big old plastic scrap screen or maybe even a small scrap screen that's plastic. Having worked in the dish room before, having used these machines, I can tell you this, when the machine's getting used and that scrap screen gets full of maybe some food particles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that out, take it over to the trash can, bang on it a couple times, get that stuff out, maybe go over to the sink and back spray it a little bit, clean it out, stick it back in the machine. Years of use and banging on it on the trash can and introduction to detergent, some rinse aids over time, plastic becomes brittle. It just does. So that's why Champion, we use an all stainless steel scrap screen. Now let's talk about the placement of that scrap screen, and that is above the wash heating elements. Anytime you run into exposed heating elements, you're exposing those heating elements to not just the scale that normally builds up, but food particles. And any food particles that get on these heating elements, it's going to cause the heating elements to have to work harder. Anytime the heating elements work harder, two things happen. You're using more electricity, B, you're leading towards a shortened life on those heating elements. So that's why Champion's design, we make sure that those are underneath the scrap screen. helping them have longer life and use less energy in the process, and just overall helping the machine work a lot better. That's enough about the construction on the machine. Let's move on. So let's go over the operation of the machine. First, we're going to start it up, let it fill, and then we'll go through the different options and functionality. After that, we'll go through the shutdown procedure. So first, we're going to turn it on. Once we do that, it's going to begin to fill and then start to heat up. All right, so now that we've switched on the machine and allowed it to come up to temperature, next up what we're going to do is take a look at some of the controls we have here. So take a look with me. Over here we have our prime. So if I'm adding, or if I've just replaced a detergent jug or a rinse aid jug, or maybe I'm starting this machine up for the first time, I've got 2 pickup tubes coming out of the back of the machine, and we'll route those over to wherever the chemicals are going to be. So like, let's use an example, detergent. So if I've just put a new detergent jug in, put that pickup tube in there, and what I'm going to want to do is prime that. So by using the prime, that allows you to manually control the peristaltic pumps that are down in the control cabinet underneath the machine. So I put that new detergent pump in. I'm going to hit the prime button on the detergent or the rinse aid if I'm doing a rinse aid, and inside the machine, back in here, let's see if we can take a look, you will see detergent port down there in the bottom right of the machine. When you prime those, you will see detergent start to come out of there. Once you see it, you're good, you're primed. Next up, we'll take a look at our cycle selects. Normally, if you see no lights here, you're in the normal mode. That's a 1-minute cycle. Hit that one time, you'll be in the extra cycle. That'll be for a 2-minute wash. And hit it one more time, and then that starts to flash for the heavy cycle. That'll be for just over 3-minute cycle. So I'm gonna hit it once more and back to normal, and then let's go ahead and start a cycle. So we're in our wash cycle right now, and up on the temperature monitor, we can see that we're washing at 150 degrees. That's good. Anything below that is not what we're looking for. So as long as we're hitting that 150 on the wash, good to go. So now we've just entered our rinse cycle to go into our final rinse for this. And as we can see, we're well over 180 degrees here. So 180 degrees would be your minimum on that. Any issues with that? Take a look at how the machine was installed or contact Champion for service on the machine. So now that our machine is going into the dwell mode, and this is the recovery mode for the heat recovery cycle, this is when the cold water is being introduced into that cold water coil, and the machine is using the fan to take all that heat and steam out of the cavity here and run that across the coil and make for that heat transfer. So taking that cold water up well over 100 degrees before it gets introduced into the booster. And over here, when you see this light turn off, when that light goes out, our cycle is over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the door here, and we're going to see just how much steam comes out, because this is the beauty of the product. So at the end of the cycle, because we're taking and recovering all that heat and steam, what we're going to find is at the end of a cycle, there'll be very little steam left over, and we'll talk about some of the applications this is good for. I think we're almost at the end. And we're done. Let's take a look. As you can see, very little steam coming out of the chamber at the end of the cycle. All right, so now that you all are total pros on Champion Undercounter dish machines, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Ryan Keim, our product manager, to talk about finish line installation services.
Hi, my name is Ryan Keim with Champion Industries. I'm the product manager, and what I'm here today to discuss is a very new and exciting thing that we're bringing to you, the dealers, and that is the Champion Finish Line Installation Program. Champion Finish Line, what does that mean to you? By a show of hands, I know you can't see me. How many of you have had issues or time-consuming problems in which you had to reach out to the electrician, the plumbing guy, the vent guy, and then as well as the dishwasher guy? What we did was we took all of that and we brought it upon ourselves. We want to take the burden off of you and put it onto us. Make this as easy as possible. So what does Finish Line entail? Well, with our menu pricing, we're going to remove and dispose of your existing equipment. We're also going to connect the new machine to utilities within 5 feet. But there's more. Do you need to upgrade that electricity? Do you need to upgrade the vent work? We have the capabilities of doing so with our install company that we have brought on specifically for you to make this process so much easier. All right, something like this, a Champion CG glass washer, $1,700. Click it in auto quotes, you send us that purchase order, ready to go. Or maybe it's something like a Champion UH130B, tried and true Undercounter, $1,700 with a PO, ready for install. So your next question, the door machines, right? Well, for the door machines, it's $3,700. Something like this is our 6,000 TVHR, cold water feed only. All those machines are going to be covered under that $3,700. Now, your next question, I'm sure as well, is the rack machines. Well, what about those? Well, this is a 44 Pro VHR, and our VHR models are going to be $5,800 for install, ready to go. Now we're moving on up to the big stuff, and that's going to be our rack machine line and our flight lines. Now, with these, there's going to be a site survey included, and it's going to be custom pricing. Now, we do guarantee a return within 10 business days with that price, but this is a little more custom for you guys. So we want to make sure we got you covered, and that will include electrical upgrades, plumbing upgrades, venting upgrades, but no table modifications.
So how does all of this work? I will go through a step-by-step process on how the Champion Finish Line process works from start to finish. This whole process starts by receiving your purchase order. Please note, all purchase orders need to be sent to orders@championindustries.com. We will then confirm that we have received your order, as well as verify the end user contact information for scheduling. From there, we will reach out to the end user with the information you have provided to verify the existing utilities are ready for install of the brand new Champion dish machine. I know what you're thinking. What if the utilities need to be upgraded? Well, Finish Line has the ability to quote and perform the upgrades required, and the on-site decision maker will be able to sign off on the quote right then and there to get this install completed. We then ship the machine to the final mile provider. The benefit of this is we get ahead of any potential issues, and let me tell you why this is of value to the customer. By shipping to the final mile provider, we get to pre-inspect the machine for freight damages that may have occurred. Subsequently, we are able to hold the machine in a secure warehouse until the end user is ready for delivery. With saying that, we then reach out to the end user and schedule a delivery date of the machine and the date they would like the machine installed. We will remove and dispose of the existing machine. Finish Line also has the ability to recycle the old machine per the customer's request at no additional charge. Now the big day is here and the machine has been installed. Once the install is finished, we will have an authorized service agent complete a startup of the machine to ensure the install was done correctly. Throughout this whole process, we will take pictures and send over to you for visibility of the installation. After the customer has had some time with the up and running machine, we will conduct a follow-up call to further increase the customer satisfaction of Champion's Finish Line install program. If you have any questions regarding Finish Line, please out to me, Ryan Keim, and my information should pop up right about now. We look forward to working with you with this new, exciting Champion Finish Line program. Thank you.
So when you're working on your next project and you have a bunch of phone calls to make, just know all those phone calls could be won. That's the Champion Finish Line installation. We want to make it easy on you, and we want to take on the burden. But wait, there's more. Did you know that with purchasing this program, your customer gets an additional 6 months warranty with their machine? You get to be the hero for a clean install and additional warranty. Wow.
All right, Ryan, excellent video. Let's all give a big thank you to Ryan for telling us all about the brand new finish line installation services from Champion Industries. Up next, let's go through the brand new for 2019 Champion DH6000 series of door type dish machines. What's up, everybody? This is Daniel with Champion Industries, and we are back with another learning series today. And we're going to be covering a new lineup from Champion. This is the DH6000 series of door machines from Champion Industries. Released earlier this year, we're coming to you with 4 models in this series of high-temp door-style dish machines. And here I have the DH6000T VHR, our most popular style of door machine in our lineup. We're going to be covering this machine from top to bottom. Let's go for a quick overview right now. First up, we're going to outline which models come in the DH6000 lineup, and the first model would be the DH6000. This has the standard height 17-inch door opening, as well as does need ventilation. The second machine in the lineup would be the DH6000 VHR. Now this still has the same 17-inch door height opening, but is now ventless. And because it's ventless and we're recapturing and reusing that heat, that machine is only going to run off of cold water, but still a high temp machine. Next up, we have the DH6000T. Now this is where we move into the tall door openings. And the DH6000T, again, still needs a hot water input and still needs ventilation, but that's going to have that big 27-inch door opening. And then just behind me, we have the last model and our most popular in the lineup, which is the DH6000T VHR. Best of all the worlds, this has got the tall door opening as well as it is completely ventless. So just like we saw in the DH6000 VHR, the DH6000T VHR, again, cold water only, but it's a high temp machine, which means you can place this machine almost anywhere you'd want to have a high temp dish machine. So that's all 4 models in the lineup. Let's take a look a little bit closer. So the DH6000 VHR and the DH6000T VHR come with a pre-installed from the factory ventless heat recovery module on top of the unit. Great thing about this, like we said earlier, those 2 models need only cold water and still operate as a high temperature machine. Now the DH6000T and the DH6000T VHR, now the T standing for tall. It's the opening. It's this big 27-inch opening we have, as you can see here, that helps the operator allow larger items like sheet pans, tea urns, mixing bowls, you name it, big cutting boards, anything that can fit inside there. And this big 27-inch opening will allow for most of those large items in the kitchen to be washed in the dish machine versus taking them over and doing them by hand in the 3-compartment sink. Now the next awesome new feature that we have added to the DH6000 lineup of door machines is something that we made very popular on our Pro Series rack conveyor machines. This is the addition of the touchscreen display that's powered by the little PLC, which is our programmable logic controller. We'll talk more about this later, but this allows us to have real-time temperature monitoring, countdown timers, service diagnostics, built-in manuals, I mean so much more. Like I said, we'll go into that in the next module. So the last new feature I wanted to go over is our new optional chemical delivery system. As you can see right behind me here, I've got a gallon of detergent and I've got a gallon of rinse aid with pickup tubes that run directly into the machine and then pumps that are built right into the machine. Now again, this is an option that you can have this machine come with, and it's all powered by that touchscreen and PLC controller. And the machine knows just how much detergent to dose and just how much rinse aid to dose. And this is a great new feature that can help your customers take back the ownership of their own chemicals and how much chemical they're actually using at any given time. We'll talk more about that in a module where we will cover the whole system top to bottom. So in the following modules, we'll go into more detail on some of these great new features on this Champion door type machine, the 6000 series. But for right now, let's learn about how we build our dishwashers. love that last video, just gets me going. We wanted to say big thank you to everyone for taking part in today's training. If you have any questions about any of the products or services you saw today, don't hesitate to reach out to us at championindustries.com. Get us on the phone, ask us questions. We want to be here for you. We are Champion Industries, your total dish room solutions provider.